What is going on, YouTube? Fascinating graveyard in an air-conditioned mausoleum here in Dickinson, Texas. We're at the Mount Olivet Catholic Cemetery here. And the reason why I'm here is because I wanted to show you guys and visit the grave of John Tenta. And of course, you know John Tenta because he used to wrestle in the WWF as the wrestler Earthquake. Yes, he became quite known for having that wrestling match with Hulk Hogan. That's where I remember him from. So let's talk about John. So originally he was born June 22nd, 1963. He's from BC. He's Canada. And he was a big boy. When he was born, he was 11 pounds. He's a big, big guy. He ended up, when he got older, he's about 6'5". He's a big dude. And originally, he had went to LSU. For LSU, he wrestled for them. And he also played football. So he's wrestling, playing football, two-sport athlete. And for some reason or another, I'm really not sure what happened, but he ended up getting a chance to go to Japan to do sumo wrestling, believe it or not. And at that time, him being a sumo wrestler, he had gained quite a bit of weight from his original physique while he was at college. So he's in Japan, and he actually was quite successful in the sumo wrestling, if you call it, game. Being a beginner sumo wrestler, this guy, he leveled off 24 wins in a row, which is really unheard of, especially as an amateur. So this guy's doing the sumo thing, and the Japanese, they didn't really know what to think of this guy. Mainly not because he was not Japanese, it was because of his tattoo on his arm. He had that tattoo of a tiger. And in Japanese culture, tattoos are looked down upon. They're often associated with criminals, gangsters, thugs, whatever. And I'm assuming that there's different levels or tiers of sumo in Japan. And I don't know what tier he was on, but get this, to move up a tier, right? They basically told him, you're going to have to remove your tattoo. Now, we got lasers and stuff, so that's easier said than done. Quite a painful process, but it can be done. But back in those days, there were no lasers. So he would have to have got a very painful skin graft to get that tattoo off his arm. So they're basically going to cut it out of your arm and then take skin from your thigh. And I don't know if that was the main reason why he decided to leave the sport. But during an interview with a Japanese newspaper reporter, he said that that sumo was the absolute toughest sport on his body ever. And he wrestled and played football. He said, sumo is very, very tough on me because when you're wrestling, the floor which you wrestle on, I believe it's solid wood. Don't quote me, but there's no give. It's not like a wrestling mat where there's a lot of give to it. So he leaves Japan and he decides to, continue to live over there. And he signed up with a Japanese professional wrestling league. So he did that for a while. And then I believe in 1989, Vince McMahon, who's the owner of the WWF, he noticed this guy, this big dude in Japan wrestling. So he's like, all right, let me go, talk to that guy. So he ended up signing John to a contract. So he comes into the the WWF, and then, they introduce him when they had that whole thing with Dino Bravo and Ultimate Warrior having that push-up contest, and he comes down and he just starts pummeling Ultimate Warrior. So obviously, instantaneously, he became a heel, a bad guy, right? So he's wrestling, quite a popular character. I remember this guy. He was actually voted in 1990 most hated wrestler, and I didn't like him either. I'm a kid, I'm stupid. I don't know if either of these guys are playing characters, because he didn't like Hulk Hogan. And if you didn't like Hulk Hogan, who was my favorite wrestler, then I didn't like you. So he continues to wrestle in the WWF. When he first came in, though, he wasn't called Earthquake. He was called the Canadian Comet. The Canadian Earthquake. That was a stupid name. So eventually they dropped the Canadian, and they just called him Earthquake. And then, of course, later on, he became a good guy. He hooked up with Typhoon. Remember that guy, Tugboat? And they were the Natural Disasters. And they held the tag team belts for a little bit, until they lost to, I don't know, somebody. Uh-oh, we got an empty bird feeder here. Uh-oh. Woo, 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 woo. I will be back to refill you. Okay, so, anyways, after, I guess, his contract is up or whatever, maybe the WWF just got tired of him. So he ends up, like, all wrestlers in the WWF, they ended up going to WCW, right? So he goes to WCW, and, of course, the WWF, or now is referred to as the WWE, they're very smart. Once you leave, you can't take the name. I mean, that's really it. They own the name, they own the character, they own the image. So this guy goes to the WCW, and now he's officially known as Avalanche. Okay. All right, that's fine. You're Avalanche. Okay. I respect that. And then, so he's wrestling in the WWF for some unknown reason, a frivolous lawsuit, if you ask me. But they tried to sue because they felt that the name and the character was too close to Earthquake. So you see how these guys are when you leave their business. They could be very persnickety. I don't know exactly if the lawsuit was thrown out. I imagine it was, because, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, come on now. So anyways, he's wrestling in the WCW. He's Avalanche for a while, yeah? And then later on, he changes his whole image. And guys, I did not understand, because I was a big wrestling fan, so I remember this. He changed his image from Avalanche to the Shark. And he was so serious about being this shark. He had like painted something on his beard. He even got his tiger tattoo covered up with a shark. I mean, this was awful. This was an awful character. I don't know if that was his idea or what, but it was terrible. So he was the Shark. That's really it. So later on, John, he leaves the WCW and he leaves the Shark behind, and he comes back to the WWF, which by now I believe is probably the WWE. So this guy comes back, and now he comes back as, in my opinion, the best character that he ever was, which was Golga. I think he was a part of that little group of misfits called the Oddities. Don't quote me on that. I just remember it was like a pack of weirdos, and he was just but one of many weirdos. Now, they do say, supposedly, that the reason why they came up with that character and the reason why he did not come back as Earthquake is because he had dropped quite a bit of weight, and you're no really longer Earthquake. You're maybe a Quake. By the way, wasn't there a wrestler named Quake? I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking about some fat kid that I grew up with back in Los Angeles. I think that's what it is. So he wrestled as Golga for a little while, and that was a really cool character. And then eventually he retired from wrestling. And unfortunately, John got really sick towards the end of his life. He had developed bladder cancer, which bladder cancer is it's a very unusual cancer because you don't hear that too often with people coming up with that. And he did an interview for some podcast or radio, something along those lines, and he had told everybody pretty much that the chemo wasn't working and that the cancer had spread to his lungs. And sadly, he died 2 weeks before his 43rd birthday on June 7th, 2006. And this is the grave of Earthquake. He will always be known as Earthquake. I loved him as Golga. And he died in Florida. And I'm assuming they had a home here in Texas, and that's his wife, Josephine. So, just a little bit of wrestling history, guys. I loved wrestling as a kid. I occasionally still kind of sort of watch it, but it wasn't the same as when you're a stupid kid and you believe that it's all real. And I remember when this guy would do that move, like when he would jump on the chest of people to finish them off. I don't know how he was not killing people because he was so big. But I guess he knew how to, because he was still, as big as he was still an athlete. So he did it in a way where he wasn't hurting them. Because, boy, when he did that to Hulk Hogan, I was like, geez, that's it for Hulk Hogan. So anyways, rest in peace to John Tenta, one of the many wrestlers that I enjoyed booing against in my childhood. Okay, guys. I'm out of here. And we'll catch up with you on the flip side. This is Fascinating Graveyard. Please subscribe. Hit that notification bell and let you know when I upload. I upload at least 2 times a week, sometimes even 3. And also don't forget about my other channel, Lamont at Large. It'll be in the description box. Definitely check that channel out if you like more serious vlogs from me. Anyways, I'm out of here, guys. Have a good day. Peace out.